caught my attention in this article was the comment, and I'm going to use my paper so I can go back to it. So I apologize for that, but I think it's just good, and so that I get the right name. So this happened in Chicago, and this called Project Veritas, and his name is Joseph Bruno. I make note of, and so he's the dean of this private school in Chicago, and this is what caught my attention. He says, he gleefully recounts how the presenter passed out various toys and I'm not going to get too explicit here in the podcast, but very explicit, issues. But then he says, when someone says, weren't you concerned that the parents were going to say something or those in leadership? He says, no. He says, he also noted that he had brought in a drag queen and that it doesn't ask permission from the school's trustees or for the activities because he knows that their response will be, that's wonderful. This is what caught my attention in the headline, was the very fact that the people who are entrusted, Colleen, with the protection of our young people, to protect them from such vile and such obtrusive content, are not doing their job. And the other thing is that the impression was that even parents, and I would say this, don't know how to respond. Because what they'll see is in Loudoun County, an example where police are brought in and parents are brought out of meetings and they're threatened by the government. This is wrong. And this is what I think oftentimes gets parents, to not know what to do. So,
Yeah, and there's also the case in Texas right now where the superintendent is being investigated by the federal government for removing books in schools. I read about that one recently.
correct.
He removed a whole bunch of these type of books, and now the federal government is saying that he's making like the school an unsafe place for children who identify as different genders. So you also have that intimidation aspect of the federal government getting involved on
Exactly.
what was originally a school level.
Exactly. And I think the real challenge for parents, Colleen, is in all of us, not just parents, but all of us, is children are welcomed into this world by their mother and their father. And they are the primary educators of their children, not the state. A child does not belong to the state. It's not a product of the state. And so can the state, promote policies and procedures that they want in their systems? Yet we know they can. At the same time, but parents have rights, and they have very specific duties and obligations toward their children that the state is not to usurp. The state is not to overstep their boundaries. And here we have a completely, a battle in front of us where the state is overstepping its responsibility. And it's telling parents that your children, you don't know what's best for them. I'm sorry, that's wrong. In some cases, we know that the state has to intervene in very unique situations where parents are not doing their responsibility. But that's not the same situation here. Because I had an interview recently, and that was asked, well, no, shouldn't the state intervene in certain things? Of course, when we have real abusive situations where parents and adults responsible for children are not truly doing their duty and responsibility. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a true manipulation of the state, intervening where it does not have a right to intervene and imposing values that are contrary, to a majority of parents. And so this is a real issue here that we need to make more visible. We need to discuss. We need to also empower parents in how to address these issues. And we need our brothers and sisters in the legal vocation, who are doing family advocacy, to keep up their good work and to step forward even more so, to do more pro bono work and to really, protect our parents and protect our young people from this very vile agenda.